Okay, so and the horizontal alignments we can change to center. We can change to align right. And justify doesn't work. Justify doesn't work well with just one line. Justify works well with a large paragraph. Okay. Let's select that and delete it. Go back to the new page. Okay, we're going to create some paragraphs. Go ahead and write that. Okay, and then press enter. Remember, I only make it that large so that everyone can see. Let's click anywhere in the first paragraph. And we have the next one is line and paragraph spacing. What's another name for 1.0? 1.0? 1.0? Single spacing. 1.0 is single spacing. So go ahead and choose 1.0. Go to the second paragraph. What's another name for 2.0? Double spacing. Let's go ahead and do a double spacing. Great. Let's go back to paragraph number 1. Click anywhere inside. And then the next command that we have is shading. So you can either choose theme colors, standard colors, no colors, or more colors. When you choose more colors, you get to choose and mix your own colors. So go ahead and choose one of the colors here and click OK. So that's the shading in the paragraph group. And let's look at the difference between shading in the paragraph group and text highlight color in the font group. So let's click anywhere in the second paragraph. Let's go to the Home tab font group and click on, if there's a color, click on text and highlight color. If there's no color there below the pencil, click the arrow to the right. Text and highlight color. Any color, any color. Okay. And if you haven't selected most of the commands in the font group, you have to select to use them. But with the text and highlight color, let me stop that. We need to select, right? So we don't need to, but let's just stick with that. We need to select in order to apply the text and highlight color. So go ahead and apply. So you can see the difference between text highlight color and shading. But if we're to click in that second paragraph again and apply shading, let's see if I can find a similar color. A similar color. Let me choose more colors to find a similar color to that. I think it's this, yeah. And click OK. That's what shading would do, right? So you see the difference between shading and text highlight color. Let me remove it. There. So I removed the shading. And then the last one was the borders. Let's click anywhere in the third paragraph. Let's look at the borders. You can add a bottom border. Let's click anywhere in the second paragraph. Let's go to borders. We can add a top border. Let's go to the first paragraph. Let's go to the borders. Let's add a left border. And now let's go to the last paragraph. Go to the border and choose outside border. Outside border. And there you have your borders. You can choose left or right, you can choose top or bottom, or you can choose all the way around. Any questions about any commands in the font group or in the paragraph group? Okay. Repeat that. What's that? How do you remove shade? Shading. How do we remove shading? You click anywhere in the paragraph where you have shading, and then you do what?
Click it back.
Huh? Well, undo would be difficult because if you did it several, right, undo would be difficult. So the best thing to do is just click in the paragraph where it is, go to shading, and what should you look for in shading? No color. Look for no color. And there. If you just did it, then you can undo it. But if you did several things after you did it, it makes no sense to use undo. Because then you'll undo all the other things that you did. Okay.
for the red border and all together one line.
Repeat that?
The border. I select for the red border and all two paragraphs together.
You selected what?
Left bar.
Left border? You selected 2 paragraphs?
Selected
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it does this for the 2 paragraphs, right? To put,
safari or that one for me to make in the gallery
uh-huh.
both together select.
Yeah, both paragraphs will have the left border.
If you want to say, no, you have to send it for me, you have to go for. Select all these 2 paragraphs, then go to no order. You have to select those 4. So she did those 2 paragraphs.
And she just had 1 left border. Yeah.
Select all of the same order.
Mr. Land, I have a question.
Go ahead.
How can I remove the border line? How can I delete it? What can I do to delete the line?
Go to the borders. Go to the borders.
Okay.
Go to the borders and look at there. And what do you see? He says he wants to know how to remove a border.
Miss Yolanda?
Remember, in the paragraph group on the home tab, you don't have to select. In the font group on the home tab, you have to select. But in the paragraph group, remember, all you have to do is click in it. Click in the paragraph. Right?
Yes.
And then if you click borders, go ahead and click borders and tell me what you would click to remove a border.
No border.
No borders. Do you see that, Piseha?
Yeah. Okay.
Did you go to borders? Did you click borders?
Yeah, I click it, but not working for me. I don't know.
You don't see no borders?
Yeah, I have saw the border. Here is the border. You see my icon? You show my icon? May I share to you?
Did you click no borders?
Yeah, okay. Okay, that one is correct. Okay, understand. Okay, no problem. I understand. Thank you.
Okay. So let's press Control End, and we are going to move on. Press Enter till you get to a next blank page. Let's go to our Basics of Microsoft Word 2016 handout. So we have talked about the font group on the home tab, the paragraph group on the home tab. Now we're going to look at the paragraph group on the layout tab. So everyone go ahead and click the layout tab. Click the layout tab. Okay, so the paragraph group on the layout tab, we only have just a couple of lines for that. And it says the commands in the paragraph group on the layout tab are for left and right indents and paragraph spacing. What? Repeat that?
No,
What?
I take this one. I go to the Explorer.
No. Basics of Microsoft Word 2016, the handout. We are on page 17. Remember, when you come to class, once you log into your computer and log into Schoology, the next thing is to open what? The handout and whatever document we're using to do our practice. So you should have that ready already. You found it? You don't have the hard copy? Okay. So we are on page 17. So it says the commands in the paragraph group on the layout tab are for left and right indents and paragraph spacing, which is spacing above and below a single paragraph. Let's go back to the previous page. Let's click in the third paragraph. And we skipped, I was going to talk about this and then got interrupted and forgot to do this. So let's go to the line and paragraph spacing on the home tab, paragraph group. Line and paragraph spacing. But first you need to click in the third paragraph. Click in the third paragraph. Then when we go to the line and paragraph spacing, we'll see previews. As soon as we put our mouse pointer on 1.0, you'll see, whoops, you'll see it kind of shrinks, right? Because all of these 1.0, 1.15, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, and 3.0, all of those are what? Line spacing. All of those are line spacing. Oh, I did start talking about it. I did. Remember that 1.0 is what? What's another name for 1.0? Single spacing. 2.0? Double spacing. And then in between those two, we have 1.15. You can see what 1.15 would do. And we have 1.5. So those are the spaces between the lines inside of a paragraph. That's line spacing. Then we put on 2 or 2.5, you see a lot of white space between the paragraph. That's what you call line spacing. All right? And then at the bottom, we have add space before paragraph, and then we have remove space after the paragraph. So that's paragraph spacing. Paragraph spacing is the, wait, let me find another page with paragraphs. Okay, let's say we do this page. Let's say we do this second page. So if we click in this first paragraph, we go to line and paragraph spacing, click, and, oh no, let's click in the second paragraph. Remember, in the paragraph group, most of the commands in the paragraph group on the Home tab, you don't need to select the whole paragraph. So if we want to add space before the paragraph, you see what happens? There's more space between the first and second paragraph. If we put our mouse pointer on we are in the second paragraph. If we put our mouse pointer on remove space after the paragraph, it removes the white space after the paragraph. And then those two paragraphs, paragraph number 2 and paragraph number 3, look the same, look as if they're one paragraph. So you can add space before the paragraph, or you can remove space after the paragraph.
Usually I have a question.
Mhm.
In my computer, I have the option to add space, because I have two options.
Uh-huh.
Remove space before paragraph and remove space after paragraph.
Okay, what happened with that paragraph is you had clicked add space before the paragraph, right? So when you add space before the paragraph, when I go back to it, now both of them is remove space before the paragraph and remove space after paragraph. So we're going to talk about it some more when we go to the layout tab, paragraph group. Okay? So let's go back to the last page, Control End, Control END. We're going to create more paragraphs here. So let's do our equal ran, open parenthesis. Let's have 6 paragraphs, close parenthesis. Equal ran, open parenthesis 6, close parenthesis. 1 minute, let me make it smaller. And press enter. So now we're going to the layout tab on the ribbon. Layout tab on the ribbon. You can see in the handout on page 17, the paragraph group on the layout tab has indent and spacing. That's all it has, indent and spacing. So if you go to indents on the left of the paragraph group on the layout tab, you have left and right indents. And each of those boxes have incremental arrows, right? The incremental arrows either increases each time you click the up arrow or decreases when you click the down arrow. That's why they call it incremental, because it goes a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time when you click the arrow. So you have left indent and right indent. Remember, indent, back in the days when we used to write a lot on paper, if you were writing an essay or a letter, you had to indent the first line of each paragraph. You had to indent about 1/2 inch. So let's click in that first paragraph. Let's go to the, but this indent is going to indent the whole paragraph. It's not going to indent just the first line. It's going to indent the whole paragraph. So let's click in the left indent box. Let's click the up arrow until we get to 1.0. Oh no, just 1. You get to 1. That's 1 inch. That's what indent is. You create space between the border line and the paragraph. That's what indenting is. But you can also indent on the right side. So let's go back to the paragraph group on the layout tab, and let's do right indent. Let's do 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. So that's 1/2 inch. So we indented 1 inch on the left and 1/2 inch on the right. Any questions about indents? The what? Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you put your mouse pointer on these pieces on the ruler, you can see at the top, it has first line indent, then hanging indent, then left indent. So that square piece at the bottom, that's the left indent. Those other ones, if you study advanced Microsoft Word, you learn about those. And then on the right side here, you have right indent. So you can move those as well. Instead of going to the layout tab paragraph group and adding the numbers, you can do it with these pieces. The right indent, if I want to do another 1/2 inch, I can bring it all the way here, and then it's 1 inch. You can see now in the paragraph group on the layout tab, you can see both of them are 1 inch now. Did you see what I did? This little piece here on the right side on the top ruler. See that little piece? When you put your mouse pointer on it, it says right indent. Initially, when we entered in the right indent, when we entered 0.5, so it's 1 inch right now because I moved that little piece. But if I go back to 0.5, you can see it moves. 0.5 there, and that's 1/2 inch, right? Originally, look where it was. If I put it back at 0, this is where it is at 0. Then we put it at 0.5, and that moved. That's 1/2 inch. It moved right here to the 6. And then if you want to make it 1 inch, you can move it yourself. You can just put your mouse pointer on it, click and drag to the 1 inch. So from here to here is 1/2 inch. And from here to here is 1/2 inch. That's 1 inch. Any questions? Mhm.
For indent, because I have read it. So we no longer indent each paragraph.
Nope, we don't. We don't. And
So
why? Because Word has a special way of separating paragraphs. So it uses paragraph spacing. So you can see, you can identify each paragraph on this page because of the paragraph spacing. The paragraph spacing is the white space above the paragraph and the white space below the paragraph. So remember when we talked about every time you press enter, you create a paragraph?
Yeah.
So that's what happens. You write your first paragraph, you press enter, and then it immediately creates that. You can see it's more spacing than the line spacing. The line spacing is the white space between the lines of a paragraph. So you can see here, let me select this. Let me go back to the home tab, paragraph group, and increase the line spacing to 1.5. So you can see between each line, there is white space. So that's line spacing. And you can increase it. You can increase it. Right now it's 1.5. If I put it to 2.5, it's more white space between the lines of the paragraph. But paragraph spacing is the white space between the paragraphs. So you see this space here?
Yeah.
This is at the bottom of this paragraph, but at the top of this paragraph, there's a lot of space, right? So all of that white space tells you where, shows you exactly where each paragraph is. So that's why we don't have to indent the first line of a paragraph anymore, because Word has made it so that we can identify each paragraph. The reason why we used to indent the first line of a paragraph was so that we could say, well, this paragraph begins here, right? So now we don't have to do that because we have paragraph spacing, right? And the minute we press enter, we add that spacing, that white space between the paragraphs.
but if we write, it's still indent like we used to.
Well, I think if we are writing on paper, well, if you're I think if you're writing on paper, you want to do the indent the first line of a paragraph, because it's easier when you're handwriting, right? To show where each paragraph begins. So I would encourage you to indent the first line of each paragraph when you are writing by hand.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
Now, when it's more easier to identify the paragraph, so why do we still use indent?
Because you can use the indent for a lot of different things, right? If you want to like write a quote, right? If you want to write a quote, let me make the spacing, the line spacing let me change the line spacing to something to here. So repeat that again. Repeat that again.
Yeah, I asked, now that it's easier to identify the paragraph, why are these being used in there?
All right, okay. So sometimes, like with quotes, right? When you write a quote, you want it to come out. You want people to see that it is separate from from all the other paragraphs, right? You want to make it short on both ends so that it will stand out. So you use indents to do that.
It's easier to identify words. It's like.
Right.
It's there.
Exactly, exactly. And there are other reasons as well. None of the other reasons come to my mind right now, but there are other reasons why you would want to indent. Any other questions about indent?
You have to know.
Mhm.
So if you're writing the letter, you know, right, it's Dear John, with a comma,
Mhm.
you still indent, you will start writing after that comma.
You're talking about writing on a computer,
Yeah,
yes? Remember, you press enter. And you have your space in your paragraph. Dear John, comma, that's one paragraph.
so it's still gonna start like, no indent, it's still gonna be lined up like this.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah. Like for instance, Dear John, comma, press enter.
You know, before you have to start the word out, comma, you can
Mhm.
drop it down.
Mm-hmm.
But now you know, oh, I see. Oh, that's-
So that's my second paragraph. I press enter and begin another paragraph. Mhm. And Word automatically, every time you press enter, Word begins a new paragraph automatically. So students, you need to remember that whenever you press enter in Microsoft Word, you're starting a new paragraph. So I've seen students, they write a sentence, they press enter. They write another sentence, they press enter.
Space.
Right. So each of those is a paragraph. So if you want to write a paragraph, you keep all the lines together in the paragraph. So you just type your period, press the space bar, and continue typing your next sentences. Then once you finish with that paragraph, you press enter to start another paragraph with other information in it. Right? Because we use paragraphs to separate. We talk about one thing in one paragraph, and we talk about another thing in another paragraph, then another thing in another paragraph. So for each sentence in one paragraph, you have to keep it together. Just type your period and then your space bar and continue writing your sentences until you finish the paragraph. And then after each paragraph, Word automatically creates that space, that white space, that extra white space between the paragraphs. And then you look at it and you can see this is a paragraph. Oops. That's a paragraph. 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 And you can tell it's a paragraph because there's a lot more white space between the paragraphs than there is between the lines inside of the paragraph. There's more white space between the paragraphs. Questions? So let's let's go back to the layout tab. Let's go to the second paragraph. Click anywhere in the second paragraph. So let's say you don't want half an inch. So let's say you want just 0.3 left indent. So you do the left indent, you do the up arrow, and 0.3. And then the right indent will do 0.3 also. And there are indents. Remember, when we put our mouse pointer on this this thing here, remember the top one is first line indent. The second one is hanging indent. And then the third one is left indent. So that first one, first line indent, that's the one that you use when you write the old way, where the first line of each paragraph is indented. So that's why you would use that, first line indent, if you want to write that way. Okay, so now let's talk about, so this is indent, right? Left and right indent. When you put your mouse pointer on it, it says, choose how far to move the paragraph away from the left margin. And the right indent says, choose how far to move the paragraph away from the right margin. Over here, however, this is spacing. This is not line spacing. This is paragraph spacing. And the default paragraph spacing is 0 before and 8 after. let's see. Okay, so on this page, um, paragraph spacing. Before is 0. 0. And after is and these are in points, 8 points. This is also points here. Points. This is also points here, the single spacing and double spacing, that's also points. And remember, 72 points is 1 inch. So imagine what 8 points is, right? 8 points. Okay, default paragraph spacing. Default paragraph spacing. Before 0 points, after 8 points. And let me show you how you can see it best. Let's go to the 3rd paragraph. And in the left margin, you can double click to select the whole paragraph. So with the selection, let me do that again. With the selection, that gray highlight, you can see clearly what 0 at the top. You can see 0 gray space at the top. 0 gray space. But at the bottom, you see more gray space than at the top, right? So the top is before 0. That's the top. And the bottom is 8 points. So you can see here. Yeah. So let's continue after typing. So 10 minutes break, we turn at 7:19, 20, turn at 7:20, and then we're not gonna do any typing. So we have to move on with this because I want us to take our word test before the spring break. Okay, so 7:20. Try to do it.
Can I close everything?
Yes. Folks on Zoom, I'm gonna close Zoom for a little bit and then I'm gonna start it again. So just wait, okay?
Okay.